What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's Lexi here. So in this video I want to talk about spiritual attacks as well as like doubts and overcoming that. If you like, check out Truth first link, second link Walk with God course 3, donations if you'd like to help this channel run, and one-on-ones if you want to talk to me on private about something. So, overcoming spiritual attacks and battles, and as well as doubt, like when it comes to like spiritual attacks, and you need to discern what is actually an attack. Sometimes it's just God building you up as well, and spiritual attacks could be considered like building you up in the sense that like when you're going through these battles, it's important to understand like this is also to grow your spirit. And the more you go through these battles, the more you can actually handle these things when you need to, and you can handle these things according to principles. And when you read the truth, you can get these truth principles to apply and understand that like everything negative comes from Satan basically. And the best way to fight against him is not to fall into negativity. And notice when you're falling into it, when you're doing your duties, following God, trying to do your best, read the word, understand this is the most important thing you could be doing. It's like what God wants us to do is to fall into positivity basically and do everything positive, live positively, and not fall into the scheme of the enemies. And obviously it's a gradual process to get rid of and diminish your negativity. You're not just gonna instantly like go from being completely negative to completely positive. That's why God orchestrates these environments for you when you're following him, to understand where you're negative if you really pay attention, and when you're like doing your duties or when you're going about life, even in your normal life. He's orchestrating scenarios where people might, when you're doing your calling, for example, maybe you're getting disturbed in some way, maybe there's like loud noises, maybe there's like just people harassing you constantly, or maybe it's even your family or friends or something like that are messaging you when you're trying to read the word or pray, and somebody's always there to disturb you at the right time, especially if you live with other people, there's always somebody there. And these are kind of like some orchestrated scenarios as well, because everything is orchestrated for you to kind of overcome these situations, and really also to test your faith and how are you able to handle these situations. And doubt is a big thing the enemy will try to get you to feel. Is like doubting God, complaining about God and blaming God for these scenarios. It's like when he gets you into that negative state and loop, that's where you fall the easiest, and you become averse to God in a sense, resisting him, opposing him, because you have to understand that don't fall into like doubt. And especially in hardship, we usually are more likely to fall into that because it feels hard. We get in maybe a little bit of negativity from something. Maybe it's something innate in you, like you feel your personality, or it could be your caliber, or just like something that could like trigger a negativity you don't even realize that's innate in you or from the outside environment. And that's where you need to kind of have self-awareness. Hope this video can help you understand that you need to have self-awareness of like all these innate things in you, as well as what's triggering you on the outside, when an outside event is triggering you or something, to feel negative, and then to come back from that to positivity and understand that that's not the state to be in, that negativity. And that's how you are also able to overcome doubt, because the reason doubt even comes is because you feel negative pretty much. It's pretty much related to that. And sometimes we could have doubts for different reasons, of course, that doesn't include negativity. Maybe you have doubts about God and his plan for you, because it's natural, we feel weak in a scenario, or maybe you lack the material resources to an extent, or maybe you're like really struggling, in poverty perhaps, or perhaps you're struggling in some kind of like marriage issues or whatever, and you're like starting to doubt God. But everything that happens in your life is for a reason, and there's no reason that it shouldn't happen, because everything is orchestrated. And every time something breaks down, it's usually for a reason. Closed doors are for a reason. You don't need to doubt God because of these things. And the more you're able to submit and accept God's sovereignty and arrangements and orchestrations, the more you come to understand him. And the more you see his plan, and the more you're able to accept it, even if you don't see all of it, you start seeing it in hindsight. And even while it's happening, and the more you accept it, the more easily and peacefully, joyfully you can walk through it and live a meaningful, enjoyable life, because you're not constantly bothered by yourself and these negative thoughts that basically the devil is trying to put in you, to feel this doubt and to complain against God. And as long as you don't give up and you follow God, That's the most important thing you can do, and read the truth. That's what God wants. Is if we just keep pursuing the truth, and check out the link in the description, and read the word, follow God, pray to God. That's how we can get closer to Him and stay close to Him. Even in those most doubtful of times, you need to read and be disciplined in your faith and pray, because that way the enemy can't get to you. Because, you know, there's a lot of basically scenarios where you could have like enemies or distractions and whatever, and the enemy will try in any schemeful secret way to attack you, and there's so many ways, you know. Obviously there's the more obvious ones, you know, like basic sins, or like, you know, maybe distractions, but sometimes we don't realize what are distractions till you realize, you know. It's not just scrolling, it could be a lot of stuff that could be distracting you. Or, you know, it could be even yourself. Sometimes you are your worst enemy sometimes in your mind, and that's also the war within, you know. And how we move in life, like, are you constantly disturbed or not? But if there's a will, there's a way. And see you in the next video. Hope this helps.